going to be 2 commercials. All right, shoot those out of there.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Chile season time again. Fall is around the corner and the Chile Factory would like to invite you to come get some chiles at 10,500 West Bowles Avenue in Littleton, Colorado. We're located at Jared's Garden Center, open from 9 to 7 weekdays and on Saturdays and Sundays 9 to 5. We have a variety of chiles, New Mexico Hot, Big Jim, Dynamite, and Sandia. You can even bring your own chiles from your garden to roast. We sell the bushels for $40, $24 for a half, and $6 a pound. Also, we have frozen chiles that you can ship to friends and family around the country. We'd like to thank you all, folks who support us and that shop with us. And the Chile Factory is located, one more time, at 10,500 West Bowles Avenue, Littleton, Colorado. Or call 303-979-6022 or 720-447-5989. Come see us at the Chile Factory in Littleton.
Friday, August 5th, from 12 to 1 Mountain Standard Time, we want you to come and join the Shootist on KUHSdenver.com. And let's talk about the Second Amendment rights, gun safety, responsible gun ownership, latest weapons, family shooting, and gun laws. You make sure and tune in to this special show starting to broadcast 12 to 1 Mountain Standard Time, August 5th, 2016. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Don't forget to join Fred McHenry, Joe Livingston. That's right, this Friday, August 5th, 2016, from 12 to 1 Mountain Standard Time. Make sure and join in and listen to what we've got to say here on the Shootist, KUHSdenver.com. See you there.
And welcome to the Shootist. Hi, I'm Fred McHenry. Going to be talking about the Second Amendment rights, and I have my co-host here with me, Mr. Riley Bowman. Riley, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, Fred.
Yeah, you had a long trip here. You went down to Texas.
I just came back from Houston, got in late last night.
Well, we appreciate that you were able to make it. And Joe Livingston, who normally hosts the show with me, had to take care of some personal business, so he's on assignment, so he won't be here, but we'll be looking forward to having him here next week. We also have a very, very special guest coming in from the Well-Armed Woman.
Indeed we do.
Yes, Miss Christine Johnson is going to tell us a little bit about the Well-Armed Woman. How are you doing, Christine?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well today.
Good.
Can't complain.
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Christine from the Well-Armed Woman, and she's here wearing a Sons of Liberty shirt. That cracks me up.
I know that. I saw that, so I need to have one of those.
Did you see the back?
I didn't see the back yet.
Look at this.
American woman, don't tread on me. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, Christine, let's get to it. How'd you really get into this? Well, first, before we get into how you got into it, explain a little bit about the Well-Armed Woman.
All right. So the Well-Armed Woman is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to teaching women how to shoot. Our goal is to equip, to empower, and to educate women in the safe use of firearms. We have chapters in all 50 states, and Colorado has 263 members and 8 chapters here.
Okay, and who basically founded the whole organization? I believe you got started in Arizona. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Carrie Lightfoot is the founder of the Well-Armed Woman, and that was started in 2012 because she wanted just to find a place where she can get more information and feel comfortable, because we realized a lot of women seem to be intimidated getting into firearms. So we're dedicated to teaching that to women in a safe and non-threatening atmosphere.
Well, that seems to be the case, and I know, Riley, you're an instructor as well.
Yep.
Most women, they get intimidated because, they go with their husbands trying to teach them how to shoot.
Husbands are terrible teachers.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't say that.
It's the truth, though. I mean, I'd like to say that I've got a lot of patience and work well with my wife when it comes to trying to teach her something new, but I don't think that's the reality at all. Either I lose patience with her or she loses patience with me. So and I'm familiar with the Well-Armed Woman to an extent. I actually met and talked with a few of you guys or gals at SHOT Show this last year.
Okay,
So it's like a wonderful organization.
Yeah, I've
It
looked
is.
them up on the website, and they have a lot of nice apparel for women, shooting apparel.
Yep.
And I mean, it's
Holsters.
yeah, very well done, very well done.
It is, and it as a woman, it is hard to find, equipment and I can't speak, accessories designed for women. They're big, they're
Yeah.
blocky, they're for a man's body, so it's nice to have that, venue to find things that are designed specifically for women. So
Right, and we want to take your calls today at 720-386-0513. Give us a call. Let us know your opinion. I know there's a lot of ladies out there listening. We want to hear from a little softer touch.
Absolutely, we do.
Yes.
It is a segment of the industry that is still, underrepresented, and but it's getting better, I think, all the time, especially because organizations like the Well-Armed Woman, and there's, here's my thinking, Fred. I'm still in Houston, apparently, my brain. She's right. Holsters are typically geared towards men. The gear is geared more towards men a lot of times. The guns themselves are a lot of times geared towards men. And, for a while there, gun manufacturers, and I think still to an extent, they thought, well, here's the thing to do. We're going to make guns that have pink grips and pink stocks. And that's going to get women more involved, and that's going to make them feel better about shooting. But it should be deeper than that. It should go beyond just, adding some pink and purple to a gun. And that's what, from what I've seen, the Well-Armed Woman organization is trying to do, is really give a community and a voice for female shooters.
absolutely, and I think making a gun pink or anything like that, although that might be what some women want.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
At the same time, I think a lot of
My
women
wife
are
wants to
actually, almost offended by that. It's like,
Yep.
just because I'm a girl doesn't mean it needs to be pink, but I want something that's going to work for me, that's going to fit me, that I can use effectively and safely, not just that it looks pretty.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Diamond Map makes a lot of blue and pink guns, and the drawback with that is a lot of times if kids they get a hold of them, they think it's a toy gun. Because quite honestly, the Diamondback 380 looks like a toy gun when it's pink and blue.
Absolutely.
And then that's when we have the tragedies, and then our press get on it, and where it's another uphill battle.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I just assumed a firearm looked like a firearm because it's a tool. It's not a toy.
Right.
And I see a lot of adults that they go out and they purchase a weapon, and they're out in the parking lot showing their friends, and they don't know how to handle it, and they don't know it. And it just scares me to death. And that's where we have all these tragedies. I think they really, before you purchase a weapon, you ought to be taught the rules and taught gun safety before you can even purchase a weapon.
Yeah.
So you know how to do that, so you're not making stupid mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I've when I was working, I'm retired now, but a lot of people knew I had weapons. They wanted me to bring them to work. They wanted to play with them and look at them. And I said, it's not a toy. I'm not doing any of that. If you want to see what I have, then just meet me at the firing range, and we'll look at it in a safe environment. So if something does happen, nobody innocent's going to get hurt.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Christine. How long have you been a member of the Well-Armed Woman?
Well, I actually joined up last fall, and ironically enough, the Littleton leader happens to be my next door neighbor, so it's very convenient. And it's a great group. We're a growing chapter, so we're getting lots of new ladies every day. But we meet once a month over at Blue Corps. We do a lot of training there with the fabulous instructor Greta, and she has some of the guys come in, and we get all sorts of tactical training, things like that. But so I'm really happy to be a part of this organization. Carmen brought me on as the co-leader, and
Now, who is Carmen?
Carmen is the founder of the Littleton chapter.
Okay,
so.
you got to state that because you say Carmen. A lot
yeah.
of our listeners have no idea. Well, who's Carmen?
Yeah, so she started the Littleton chapter just because at the time there wasn't a chapter for the metro area. So we really served a lot of the greater metro area. There is a chapter in Castle Rock, which will probably be the next closest. And we also have one in Loveland and several more throughout the state. So there's somewhere for everybody to join in.
So if somebody wanted to like join up,
Mhm.
or they wanted to start another chapter, how would they go about doing that?
So what they would need to do is to go to the Well Armed Women website, and there should be a tab at the top saying located chapters. So you just enter in your state and it'll bring up all the chapters in your state that are active. There's also a place if you wanted to start a chapter, it'll lead you to the contact information to go ahead and get that started.
I think that's great because I really do. I know a lot of these different garden clubs. I know at Centennial, they're doing like a ladies' night where it's only females are allowed in the facility. And it seems like they get quite a crowd and they're a little bit more comfortable than being around their male counterparts in a
Absolutely.
shooting environment. But it sounds like you don't have any problem with that.
What's that?
Shooting around a lot of men.
You know, that doesn't really bother me. My husband is the one who got me into it, but as Riley mentioned earlier, husbands aren't always the best instructors. So, you know, it's kind of like when you teach someone to drive, when you've been doing something for a very long time, it's difficult to break it down simply for people who are just starting out. So he'd get a little frustrated with me. I got a little frustrated with him. And he's like, no, you need to go check out this group. Maybe this would be a good thing for you. So I joined up and started shooting with the ladies. I'm now on as co-leader. So as I'm helping women learn about firearms, I'm becoming a better shooter.
Cool. What does it cost to, or how does one become a member? I'm just curious.
So the membership fee for the Well Armed Women is $50 annually, and the bulk of that cost actually goes back into chapter insurance because we do carry insurance on every chapter nationwide, just to cover costs in case anything happens. You know, it's a cost of doing business nowadays. You need to be covered. And you know, with that $50, you're a member of the Well Armed Woman. You get your little membership kit. You get your card, your hat, a new shooter's video, and you also do get discounts nationally and locally from everything from Tupperware-like items to firearm-related items. So, and there's a lot of great companies that are kind of partnered up and offering us discounts as members.
So $50 annually, so a little more than $4 a month.
Correct.
Nice, not too shabby. And tell me a little bit more about your shooting. What do you like to shoot?
Oh boy, I really like rifle. That's my favorite. Handgun,
Rifle, like.
I shoot .223 or an AR-15.
So an AR-15,
Mhm.
nice. Is it pink?
No, it's not.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, my husband has a strict rule, no pink guns in the house. So nope. So it's black. It's actually engraved with my dad's initials and all of his Purple Heart and 173rd Airborne stuff. And that was kind of the catalyst that really got me into shooting. So I got my very own rifle, and from there it's just kind of gone on. Next purchase will hopefully be an AR-10 because I want a little bit heavier round to shoot.
Nice.
But I do enjoy pistol, although pistols, it's a little harder than the movies make it look to get really good and get after it. But you just have to train constantly. It's not a skill that you can go do it once and be an expert. It's something that you have to continuously work with, and that's why the Well Armed Woman is great, because in addition to meeting once a month to actually shoot on the range, we also offer opportunities to women to learn lots of other things. I know our chapter specifically, we've done a combat casualty care class to learn how to stop, bleeding wounds and things like that. Trauma. Take care of people. We have the NRA come out and speak with us. We are hopefully going to be putting together a class soon to teach ladies Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu. So just all different manners of being kind of self-reliant and protecting ourselves and our families. So.
Wow, very exciting. That
is exciting. So it sounds like they got a full range of everything, because a lot of times you may not be able to get to a pistol.
Correct.
And you still got to defend yourself, so you got to use whatever you have.
Absolutely.
So I like that, jiu-jitsu and hand-to-hand combat, because sometimes it gets down to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we just really want our ladies to be well-rounded and be prepared. It's the only person you can really count on at the end of the day is yourself. So we just want to try to offer our ladies the best opportunities and the best training possible to make sure that they can protect themselves and their families.
And that's what this show is trying to get across, because a lot of these politicians and the local media, they're trying to get across you need to have the police defend you. But to answer, we had an interesting conversation before we even went on the air. To answer a call in Denver is 15 minutes.
on
Yeah,
average.
on average, the average gunfight is over with in 3 to 7 minutes.
Keep in mind, they say on average.
Yeah,
So it could be 20, could be 30 minutes.
like
And
I
in
say,
addition to that,
they show up just in time to outline the chalk and, take a report.
absolutely.
Right.
And the latest statistics, they're compiled every few years, so this is from 2012, but Denver, Colorado, amongst cities of similar size, so obviously Chicago or New York City is a much bigger city, but cities that are similar size to Denver, we have the highest rate of violent crime in the country now. And so it's just something to think about. You never know what happened. We all saw that guy on the 16th Street Mall attacking someone with a big pipe. I mean, what are you going to do? So you need to be,
Yeah.
we try to teach our women to be aware, know what's happening around you. Don't go looking for fights, but be aware of what's happening. And if you have to defend yourself, then you have that right and you should have the training to do so.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And, like I say, we get back to this political thing because now, it's that time of year. It's the political football. And, I'm really concerned about more of the local politics, like our representatives and our, congressmen, because it doesn't matter who's president. Because you're never going to, when are you ever going to talk to Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, whoever it is? You'll never get a chance to ever see them. You're very lucky you even get a chance to see the person, let alone talk to them. But you can't talk to your local representatives. You need to know what their opinion is. So, like I say, when you go out and you think about voting for Michael Bennett, take a look at his stance on the Second Amendment. Then I take a look at Mr. Glenn, the Republican representative, and see
Daryl Glenn.
Daryl Glenn, yes. And I would definitely take a look at his stance. And then you make a decision. I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to vote for because I know where I'm voting.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to touch on that because I know you guys are a nonprofit.
Correct.
So I don't want you to violate you can't get in too much of the political spectrum.
Absolutely.
So we'll just touch on it briefly.
We are dedicated to shooting, so obviously we are very pro Second Amendment. So, like you said, we won't get into politics or telling people how to vote or whatnot, but that's a decision that, gun owners do need to make in regards to the ballot box. So,
Right.
do your research.
And not everybody needs to own a firearm. If you're deathly afraid of it and this, that, and the other, and you go out and purchase a firearm and you're not committed, if you have to use that when it comes to that point in time where it's hide or fight, then you shouldn't own a firearm. Because if there's any hesitation, believe me, the person that you're trying to defend yourself from has no qualms. If they can get that gun, they will use it on you. If they don't already have one.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of having a gun, I'm curious. Christine, are you carrying today?
I am. I have my permit, so I do carry every day.
What are you carrying?
I have a Glock 19.
I'm carrying a Glock 19 myself.
That seems to be a common theme amongst this table. So, yeah.
It's a good product. It's easy to use. It's especially a very good product for new shooters because there's not a lot of bells and whistles on it to mess around with. It's pretty straightforward, and it seems to be pretty popular amongst our ladies as well. So
I'll have to send this recording to Glock USA so we can, they can do that advertising. They can send us a little contribution.
Yep. No, it's you're right. It is simple to use. As long as you're obeying the simple firearm safety rules, should be no problem as far as safety is concerned. It's just a matter of drawing it out of your holster, and if it's loaded, and you press the trigger, and it's going to do its job.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Good choice.
It is a good choice. And anybody's got any other opinions that they want to talk about, please give us a call. 720-386-0513. You can get right through and talk to Christine or Riley or myself. Any of us want to answer your questions. Getting back to, I know we had talked a little bit about carrying on the campus.
Yep.
And we were going back and forth. And I don't know what your kind of thoughts are of people carrying on a actual school campus.
Higher education or younger kids?
Higher education, obviously. I don't think younger kids should be carrying guns in school.
Well, no, not them. I wasn't sure if you meant teachers or whatnot, but my daughter.
Teachers, I have no problem with.
Yeah, I don't either, as long as they're trained.
Right.
But my daughter is in college and she attends classes down at Metro. She does attend class at night.
Yeah.
So, it does worry me. She's not quite old enough yet for her concealed carry permit, so she is protecting herself in other ways that are appropriate for her age. But I feel that, you're a legal adult, and as long as you've gone through the proper channels to receive the training and the permitting, that you should be allowed to carry a weapon on campus.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up our episode 2 weeks ago.
That pretty much does sum it up. We were just talking about, well, somebody's carrying and something, breaks out, we have an active shooter situation. I said, well, I don't mind if they're doing that, but I want to make sure they know what they're shooting at, because an active shooter situation, that is going to be pretty chaotic. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden they think they got a beat on the person, they shoot, and the next thing you know, somebody jumps in front of it and they take the round. It's not even intended for them.
Sure.
I need to make sure those people are at least qualified enough. They need to take one step extra. They need to get range qualified to do that.
It's good. It's a good point. I think there's some misconceptions sometimes about active shooter situations, especially in crowded, venues. I'll tell you one thing. I mean, people don't run towards the bad guy. They run away. Now, I mean, obviously, we got to use good judgment as far as being mindful of our surroundings and being mindful of any innocent civilians that might get in the way. But I hear that, and it's funny because I'm talking about this in a little bit different way than how we talked about it in our podcast this last week. Just this past Wednesday, we did a whole podcast episode talking about situations where you shouldn't use a gun potentially for self-defense, and kind of implying that we should have Krav Maga training or other hand-to-hand combat type training, because there are situations where a gun is not going to be appropriate, and a crowded place can be one of those situations. But I do want to throw out there that I've talked with a number of individuals that have responded to and have been involved in crowded places and active shooter situations, and just know that people tend to run away from the guy that's doing the shooting. So, in theory, you may have an opportunity to use a weapon in self-defense in a situation like that, but you might not. It all depends. It's always situationally dependent. I mean, like, you can't ever say for sure, it's going to play out one way or another way, because every situation will be a little bit different. And let me give you an example of how one situation was handled. In Seattle, a couple years ago, there was that shooting on a campus in Seattle, a college campus. A kid walked in with a shotgun, started firing off shotgun rounds. I believe he struck 4 individuals. One of them died. But there's another college student that was nearby, and he didn't have a gun on him, nor were you allowed to carry a gun on that campus, which, is funny because it obviously didn't stop that shooter from doing so. But anyway, but this other student, he actually had pepper spray on him, and he watched carefully and waited for the right opportunity. And at one point, I believe the shooter was getting ready to start reloading his shotgun. And at that moment, this student jumped in, sprayed him in the face with his pepper spray, didn't wait at all. He just sprayed him and then jumped on him and managed to fight this shooter to the ground. And it saved lives. And so what the point is you're right, in these crowded situations and things, sometimes the appropriate response is not necessarily going right to a gun. And that's why I know, like you mentioned, Christine, the well-armed woman is doing everything you can to give women all the tools for self-defense, which is just fantastic. But there's an example of a situation where things play out differently than maybe what you would expect, and sometimes can be solved with just a little bit of ingenuity.
Absolutely. And it's, you have to have a mindset too. If you are going to be carrying a gun, are you willing to use it? Because if you're not willing to use it and you're not trained to use it, you may want to rethink it. And we actually get a lot of ladies who come in and, oh, well, I have my concealed carry permit already. Okay, so then what? Are you going to know what to do? Can you draw it from your concealed, position? I mean, this is something you have to train constantly for, because if you're not prepared, then maybe it's not the right time for you to carry. And even if you don't want to carry a weapon, you can still join our group. You can still learn how to use them. You could learn how to use it for sporting events if that's something you're into, just out of curiosity. and you can do the other things that we offer. So there's lots of reasons to take the courses, even if you're not necessarily ready to carry a firearm.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm always an advocate for training. I try to train every day in comfort of my own home with dry practice and various things, because those skills are very perishable, particularly related to firearm. I mean, when we talk about using a firearm, we're talking about using fine motor skills as opposed to gross motor skills a lot of times. I mean, because we're using our fingers when we're using our hands. And the thing is fine motor skills are, where it comes to muscle memory,
Right.
like we lose those the fastest because they're the most complex. They use the
Right.
most muscles. They use a lot of small muscles. And so, the more fine skill motor or whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, the
Right.
more that is fine skilled, the faster you lose it. So with guns and similar things, you lose that very fast. So you got to keep it sharp. But it's also, an indicator as to why we should, if we can, anything that we can do as far as our gun handling and gun training that reduces the dependency on fine motor skills, the better you are. Which is why I always teach and practice, racking the slide if it's a semi-automatic with your whole hand and not just, your index finger and your thumb, things like that, because then you're training skills that makes you less dependent on fine motor skills. So.
And that brings up a good point, because I was going to ask Christine this question, because we debated about this back and forth. Women that are in your group, are they more comfortable shooting an automatic or a revolver?
So far, all the ladies in our group all shoot semi-automatics.
Wow.
So, in fact, we have a revolver at home in the safe that we used to always tell my daughter, go for that one. It's the easiest if you ever need it. But we all hate shooting the revolvers, to be honest. So
that surprises me, because I've heard the opposite. A lot of women like revolvers because all they do is pull it and shoot it.
Yeah, but then you're limited with how many rounds you get.
Right,
Things like
that's
that.
true.
So so like I said, I've shot them before, not very often. They're not my favorite, so I prefer my semi-autos. So.
Yeah.
Once you learn how to manipulate them, I mean, I know there's this hump. Even when I first started shooting, I couldn't load a magazine by myself. I could barely rack the slide. It was just like, what is this foreign piece of metal in my hands? So, but through lots of practice over and over again, it does become that muscle memory, and you can do it. In fact, I was out with my husband and my daughter and a friend, and we were doing a night shoot because my daughter and I have never shot using weapons lights. So we have weapons lights on all of our guns. Well, what use is it if you can't use it? So we set up a night shoot, and prior to the sun going down, my daughter was loading her magazine, and she put it in the gun, and I kept looking at her, like, you need to index the mag. She's like, what is that? So I explained it to her. I said, it's the way you put it into the gun every single time. Keep your index finger on the front of it, so it's pointing the right way, it's loaded properly, so it works. And she rolled her eyes. She's like, I know. Sure enough, sun goes down, it's pitch black. We're loading those magazines just by count and by feel. And she went to load her magazine, and it wasn't indexed, and boom, it falls to the ground.
Oh.
And she looks at me, she's like, oh, I get it now. So, it's just repetitive training. I mean, when we do our classes, once a month at Blue Corps, we start it with the same safety spiel every single time, and we go over, how to rack it, how to hold it every single time. Sometimes it might seem to the more experienced shooters that it's, over and over repetitiveness, and they're like, come on, let's get to it. But there really is a purpose to training that way. It's just, it becomes a part of you rather than something you have to try to remember in a stressful situation.
That's absolutely true, and that's also a very good training tip, which is funny because I think it was our training tip, or at least it was mentioned, because we have a weekly training tip on the Concealed Carry podcast, and I know we just mentioned that very thing recently as far as indexing the magazine. So good stuff. Night shooting, even. Was that with the Well-Armed Woman?
This was not with Well-Armed Woman, although we are discussing trying to put together something like that for our ladies, just to give them, some different experiences. We'll be outside, so at the range, I mean, it's great training. They open up a huge bay for us, so we have, live firing line, and we're all in there together. But you're limited somewhat because it's indoors. So, my husband and my daughter and I like to go out sometimes and do our own thing. And my husband makes me do evil things like take 2 shots and drop and do 5 push-ups and then shoot again. So
drop and do 5 push-ups
yeah,
for what?
Just get your heart up,
It's good.
make your
Yeah.
muscles tired and see how you shoot after.
That
So,
sounds like
I'm not
militia
sure.
training.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can get all my ladies to agree to do this, but
No, but you're right there. I mean, like, it might not be fun, and maybe your husband is mean, but I don't know. But we should, train like we fight.
Right.
Which means that when you're in that actual situation where you actually need to use a gun for self-defense, your heart rate is going to be elevated. You're going to be, extremely excited. You're going to be more prone to fumbling because of that. And so when you do things like this, shoot, push-ups, shoot, maybe some more push-ups, like it's not a perfect representation of what you're going to experience in real life, but it definitely can help prepare because it gives you a little bit more of a sense for what to expect.
Right.
So night shooting, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, and I hope you're able to do that with the local chapter too. Because think about, Fred, where do you think it's most likely that we are going to have the need for a gun?
Well, obviously, that's a point of content that I was talking with the owner of the station. It's going to be at night. Somebody breaks into your house at night
Yep.
and asleep, and he always makes a joke. What are you going to tell the guy? Oh, wait a minute, I got to go get to my gun safe to get a gun to deter you.
Yep.
I said, I don't have a gun safe. If they break into my house, it's on, like Donkey Kong, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, there's stuff all around my home. I shouldn't give my home address out.
You probably
Next I
shouldn't do
know,
that.
they will be trying to burglarize my home, so
Sure.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, statistically speaking, where most people are likely to have need to use a gun is in their home. Outside of the home still happens, and it's still something we should be prepared for.
But most of the time, that's
But-
at night, isn't it?
Well, statistically, yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I would caution you into thinking that it's always going to be at night.
No.
Because there are certainly, lots of times where a burglar, for instance, is going to break in during the daytime because they think, people are at work, people are at school, they're less likely to be home, so they may attempt that during the day. So my point is, I follow, I have all sorts of notifications and things set up on my computer that alerts me to news stories of, people using guns in self-defense, and most of those stories are at homes. And I haven't done any statistical analysis, but I would say still more often than not, it's at night. But there are still a very large percentage of at-home, self-defense, justified use of deadly force during the daytime as well. But because, that's my point though. Where I started was, practicing shooting at night is a valuable skill because if you've never done that before, and then you've got one of these situations that honestly happens on a daily basis in this country, somewhere, and usually more than once, every day.
Yes.
And if you've never handled a gun or shot at night, you don't really know what to expect. You've never done it before, so it's something that should be practiced. It should be trained. It should be learned because there's techniques that should be used. I know people that have probably done night shoots, but they don't have a flashlight, near their gun or on their gun. So speaking of safes, because Henry, as you were talking, you said talking to the station manager, what are you going to do? Say, hey, time out, hold on, let me go open the safe, get my gun. I love these little gun safes. They're, I've got one that's just a little bit smaller than my laptop. It's thicker than my laptop, but size-wise, it's about as big as my laptop. I got sitting right here on the table. And it just has 4 buttons on it that you can program whatever custom combination in it you want that only you know, and it's easy for you to memorize, and it just requires the push of buttons with 4 fingers. I keep one right next to my bed. I keep one in another location of my home. I keep another one in another location of the home. Always within a few seconds, I can get to one of those. I call them quick access safes. So they're small, they're handy, they're easy to access. Quite literally, in a couple of button pushes, my safe pops open, and I've got in there a loaded gun with a flashlight and a spare magazine. That's how I package every one of these quick access safes: is spare ammo, gun is loaded, and also you got to have a light in there with it. Sometimes that light's mounted right on the gun. Sometimes I have a flashlight right there. But that's definitely something to consider. So in that instance, you can still, and I'll tell you too, we had a situation a few months ago where I thought our house was getting broken into. And really what it was, once I assessed the situation, was our next door neighbor's vehicle getting vandalized. It was getting, the windshield was getting smashed in, taillights were getting smashed out, and it sounded like somebody was beating on my door. And I jumped, just from a cold sleep. I was out so cold. I startled to, and I immediately went into action mode. I reached over, opened up my safe, had my gun all in my hand in probably 3 or 4 seconds. So that's how quick you can still get to a gun in a situation like that. And I thought I needed it at the time, to be honest with you. So I grabbed all that stuff, grabbed my flashlight. I was ready to go.
Yeah, see, for home defense, yes, I do have one. But my main, at nighttime, what I use is a 12-gauge shotgun. So it's a tactical shotgun because all I have to do is be in the vicinity. But a lot of people say that's not safe because it tears up a lot of, because they say don't use buckshot, just use bird shot.
Number 4 shot
Yeah,
is good size.
I use double aught buck, but
It's
I'm just old-fashioned.
it's a little bigger than some of your birdshot, but it's not so big that it has a tendency to penetrate through walls. I mean, it still can, but it's less of a tendency than your larger double aught or even triple aught buckshot.
I think every family and every home just needs to be mindful of their own personal situations. In my case, my daughter's 20 years old. I don't have to worry about her finding things and playing
Right.
with
She's
stuff
an
and worry
adult.
about. Right.
Yeah.
But younger children and just even the layout of your home, your neighborhood. I mean, those are all things to be mindful of when choosing to have a weapon in your home. So how close are your neighbors? Is that going to go through to my kid's room? Are my kids going to get a hold of it? So those are all just factors that everyone has to think about and address within their own families.
Absolutely, our neighbors are getting more and more aware because we've talked about, because Joe, our partner, his father-in-law lives right across the street, and we were just talking the other day, and she's a yoga instructor out in Aurora, and they were in there, the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Department, talking about active shooter situations. They're actually getting prepared for this stuff because you never know when it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so now their views have kind of changed about should I be armed or not armed. And now she's taking courses to get a carry conceal license.
And I think that's
So I'm
why
going to introduce her to you so you can get her
absolutely
trained
like I
right.
said, that's just the first step. So it's got to be constant training, and we try to make it so that it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of fun. We always have snacks. We do a lot of fun things together. It's great groups of ladies. But at the end of it, it's all for training. And whether you want it for self-defense or you want to do 3-gun competitions, or it's in the house, I should maybe at least learn how to kind of use it if I need to, but I'm really not interested in carrying. There's all different reasons, but whatever your reason, if you're going to own a gun, you need to receive the proper training.
You mentioned, so our listeners may not know what 3-gun competition is. Would you like to, or Riley, would you like to elaborate on what 3-gun competition is?
Well, I'm no expert, but
I'm not either, but
3-gun competitions involve the use of a handgun, a sidearm, shotgun, and a carbine rifle.
Right.
Typically, most competitors use an AR-15 platform rifle, some sort of semi-automatic shotgun with extended magazine tube, 8, 9 shots in the shotgun. It involves shooting a lot of rounds at a lot of different targets, running around station to station,
yeah.
very active. It's something that I've played around with it a little bit. I've never actually participated in an official 3-gun match, but it's on my list of things I need to be doing and should be doing. I have a lot of the skills for it, and it'd be fun to kind of combine all the shotgun, rifle, and handgun skills into one event for sure.
Now they got a 4-gun competition because now they're using a long rifle as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those same 3-gun competitions will involve like they'll have stages where you're shooting your carbine rifle at relatively short distances, and they'll also have longer distance shots as well. So a lot of those competitors will have variable power scopes, anywhere from 1 to a 6 power, so they can quickly zoom it, from 0 magnification out to 6x magnification, so they can do any shots from anywhere from 25 yards to 300, 400 yards. But yeah, there's competitions I'm sure that are using the bolt action long rifles as well too.
Yeah,
Right.
we were I wasn't there, but my co-leader and actually Carrie Lightfoot, the founder of the Well Armed Women, was just up in Kiowa this last weekend for the
nice.
annual ATF competition. So, and one of our instructors is a 3-gun competition shooter, and so that we're kind of thinking, oh, that might be kind of fun. So maybe we'll start training for this so we can all compete next year at the ATF shoot. And the Well Armed Woman actually does have a shooting team.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that
compete.
up. Yeah, they do have a shooting team.
They do have a shooting team, and a lot of the ladies in various chapters will, whatever local competitions going on, they'll enter and compete in those, and they're all pretty good shots.
How do they
Yeah.
fare?
Pretty good. I know I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was one, I think 2 weekends ago, where I think 3 of the ladies up on the podium were all well-armed women, so
Mm.
they do pretty well.
I was participating in the American Marksman competition back in June. We had the regional championship here locally, and I know I saw a few of your gals there as well. They were wearing, shirts and
Purple shirts,
Yeah, purple
probably,
shirts.
yes. Yep. We all have purple. That's our
That's
color.
why you got your purple Sons of Liberty
Yeah.
shirt on now. Now I'm making the connections.
Yes. Although my well-armed woman shirt's actually black, but
Oh, it is?
yes.
Okay.
cool.
Well, this, Christine, what is about the biggest pistol or gun that you have actually shot?
That I've actually shot. Gee, I'm trying to remember. We did a 5-gun challenge at one of our classes where they provided 5 different types of guns, and I can't remember, but I want to say it was a 357. It was pretty big. I didn't like it so much, but I have a 45. We haven't been getting along lately, so this is my new conquest. I'm going to master this 45. So, but that's probably the biggest pistol I've shot. We have some bigger rifles that I shot, like bolt action rifles and
Right.
things like that. So,
Because when I was looking at your guys' website, there was a lady, and she was shooting a Barrett 50 caliber, which is that's a cannon. And she was just smiling and just racking the shots off.
oh yeah, that's on my bucket list. So,
Oh,
oh yeah.
it'll be better to have a lot of money. That's the ammunition, not cheap.
No, it's not.
Are you serious, Fred? We don't have any callers at all today. 720-386-0513. If you'd like to get on and ask any questions, particularly you female shooters or female wannabe shooters, if you've never shot before and you want to get into it. Speaking of which, Christine, to a woman that is very new to the shooting sports, what would you say right now?
That this is your right to do this, and we feel that it's important that every woman be self-reliant and self-sufficient. You cannot rely on the police or your husband or your boyfriend to take care of you. And the world that we're living in nowadays, it's not exactly a pretty place always. So I feel it's important for women to be aware and to be trained. And quite frankly, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I mean, we actually just had some ladies that joined us for the very first time this last Tuesday. They had never touched a gun ever in their lives. And the smiles on their faces after they sent those first 2 rounds down range, I mean, it's priceless. So, I mean, it's just a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
It is. If it's done properly and safely, it is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And you're right about that. I've even taken folks to the range that are not necessarily anti-gun, but just kind of like, it's not really for me, And, once you get them kind of started and they fire those first rounds, I don't think I've ever seen anybody fire their first shots from a gun and not smile.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was going over my situation when I first started to learn how to shoot, which wasn't that long ago. I was just scared to death, and I had a Springfield XD, the XDM 45. But the instructor said, no, you got to learn how to shoot this gun first, which was an old Colt 45, but it was a revolver. It was a huge gun. I thought my XD was big, but this thing was a lot bigger. It just scared me to death. And I mean, I'm sitting there just like, oh, with my eyes closed. He said, you can't hit anything with your eyes closed, so open your eyes up. It's not a snake. It's not going to bite you. And then after I shot it a couple times, got through one round, and then load it up again, and the next time I was just shooting away. It becomes a lot more fun. But I think that anticipation or the fear that if you shoot this gun's going to blow up or something like that takes a little while to get over.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's we talked 2 weeks ago about starting younger shooters and stuff, and doing so appropriately. Starting with or maybe was that last week? Anyway, I guess Joe and I did talk about that last week. Starting newer shooters, younger shooters with 22. Very little recoil,
That's
very
what I
easy to
start out with.
manage. And then you just step it up.
Yeah.
As you do that, little steps at a time, it's very easy to do. A number of years ago, I made the mistake of trying to get my wife to shoot. I think it was a 9mm or something. Uh, she did, and it kind of scared her, I think, a little bit, and she didn't, make another effort again for quite a while, and that was my bad.
Mhm.
So the next time she agreed to let me take her to the range, it was 22s and pretty much only 22s. So you got to do it, appropriately, and also look at each individual, themselves and customize, what you're doing for them too. Just got my daughters, my 7 and 5-year-old daughter. Neither one has ever really showed much interest in actually shooting a gun, even though we talk about them and we talk about safety rules and all that. And I've showed them different things in the home. But just last weekend, they both were shooting BB guns and air rifles, pellets and so forth. And the 5-year-old was not so excited about it. The 7-year-old, she really took to it and smiles all around. I couldn't tear her away from that air rifle. And she was a dead ringer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's how my daughter was. I'm like, wait, you just hit that bullseye at 100 yards the first time you picked up a rifle. How is this possible?
Right. I was
Yeah.
explaining to Christine about my wife. Her first experience with a gun was with a shotgun. She was out with her cousin, and they thought it'd be funny. They're out at a family outing up in the mountains, and they were shooting a shotgun. And they said, "Oh, come on over, Catherine. Why don't you shoot this shotgun?"
Mm-hmm.
She shot it and knocked her on her, and she's been deathly afraid ever since.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, they didn't do you any favor."
Nope, not at all.
But now she's being around me, and she's kind of getting over the fear of that, and now she's a little bit more curious. So we have to get to the range, and I'm going to introduce her to Christine because she probably feel much better if she is. Not to say you're a bad guy, Riley, because you're not. But sometimes women just seem to be gravitating more to women because I guess they can kind of relate.
Well, they can speak to their needs better. I mean, I've had many women come through my various firearm courses, concealed carry courses, and it's difficult for me to speak to their needs. And I point them a lot of times to some YouTube videos and YouTube channels that I'm very familiar with that are done by women, and say, go check these out. These are really good videos. They're done by a woman. She really does a great job, and will give you a lot of feedback. I mean, I could tell you all the same stuff, but you're not going to believe me.
Well,
like you would hearing it from a woman's mouth.
As an example, when I was first starting to shoot and my husband was trying to teach me, he's like, well, how are you sighting that? It's a lollipop. His picture of a lollipop in his head was different than mine. And we communicate differently. So in our classes, and I know it sounds completely silly, but sometimes the instructor will equate something to the difference between clip-on and pierced earrings or high heels and flats. And it kind of, it tempers it so it's not as intimidating, number one, using all these technical terms. And, it's something that we as women can visualize.
Yeah.
So we do speak differently. We learn differently. Our bodies are different. So it's really important to teach women. I mean, I see women on the range all the time. They're doing that typical girl stand, leaning way back.
Yeah.
But then, my husband's like, no, get up on it. You got to be aggressive. And the next thing I know, I'm like almost doubled over trying to hunch up into this. And that doesn't work either. So, women, we just communicate differently.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for me to go up to another woman and correct her stance by putting my hands on her to help, angle her than a male instructor, because women are like, oh, that's kind of weird, but if I do it, it's not as big of a deal. So because they we kind of look at it as a sisterhood. It doesn't matter whether I've never met you before or not. You're a girl, you're part of my group, you're one of my sisters, and we're going to take care of each other. So
Yeah,
absolutely. because I need to work on my stance. I need a lot of help, so that's why I say that's why I'm incorporating Riley. We have to get to the range. We get to do that, but we got to get to this pretty quick because I need a lot of work.
Well, we all do, Fred.
Yes.
You know.
Like I said, it's nothing that you can't do it once and be an expert. You got to do it,
Oh no,
all the time.
I used to practice all the time, and I got a little illness, so I haven't practiced since I recovered from the illness. So now I'm well enough to go back to the range. And I just keep finding myself, okay, well, I got to go to the range today. And for some reason, I just have not done it.
Mhm.
So I need to get back and get into it because before I couldn't stay away from the range.
Right.
Lunch hour, every lunch hour, I used to work right, like I said, right by Centennial Gun Club.
Mhm.
And that's where I spent my lunch hour.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of rounds down range.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just looking at the wellarmedwoman.com website. A lot of good stuff here. Right off the bat, if I scroll down a little bit, I see in the waistband holster,
Mhm.
purple in color,
Yes.
by the Well Armed Woman. Some concealed carry purses, the classic hobo purse.
Now, what is a hobo purse?
Yeah, it's just the shape. It's kind of like a big sack.
A
but
big
yeah.
sack?
So you gotta have room for all your other stuff too.
Oh.
It's two pack. If you don't have enough room, you're not gonna be able to access your firearms.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The lace belly band by the Well Armed Woman,
Mm-hmm.
little holster you can wear around your waist.
Yeah, which I find is the best option.
And what size gun does that accommodate?
They have different types of the belly band holsters. So it depends really on the size of the person and then also the size of the gun. So I have to wear a bigger holster because I carry a bigger gun because I don't
Sure.
like the little 380s. So
Yeah. I also see that you've got like some online forums and stuff,
absolutely.
which is great. So I imagine you gals get in there
Oh yeah.
and chat away back and forth.
We can, and all the other chapters work very closely together. We communicate quite a bit through Facebook, email, things like that. Nationally, in fact, I just had dinner with Carrie Lightfoot and Fel Cohen. She's the Loveland leader, and then Carmen, my co-leader, just last Friday, and it was a lot of fun. Even though the music was really loud, but we had some great Mexican food and had some good conversations. So
You must have been up in Greeley.
what's that?
You must have been up in Greeley.
Actually, we were in Aurora, so
Oh.
but yeah.
Okay.
That's where we all decided the common place to meet was, but it's great, and we try to keep in touch. We bounce ideas off of each other. We try to work together. Our chapters aren't in competition with each other. So, if there's ladies out there that want to learn how to shoot, but they're way up north, then well, we've got chapters up north. Or if they're in the Springs, we've got stuff down there. So, really quite a few places that they have options to look into.
I think you got a lot of opportunities because I think they need to get a chapter in Aurora. And I know I'm going to introduce you to Mary Abramson, who was her husband's own Centennial Gun Club.
Mhm.
Because I'm sure they're looking to organize something because they do. I know I get it on the website. Every Tuesday is ladies' night.
Yep.
Where the facility is only women there. And they get quite a crowd.
Right, and it's nice. I mean, women are really coming out in droves to learning how to shoot, and I do see the industry really changing to cater to that. So they're the gun ranges, the gun shops, all of that. They're very welcoming to us, and they're like, we need to get together. We want to make this happen. We want to be available to women. We don't want to be intimidating to them. So it's changing, and it's definitely changing for the better. So.
Just coming back to to you guys' website and the forum, just to give some of our listeners an idea of what they might be able to find here. Some of the top forum topics: dealing with the threat of terrorism. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
New to shooting and full of questions. Choosing the right gun for me. This is one I get every class that I have a woman, participant in the class. Which, by the way, in recent times, I have classes sometimes that the women outnumber the men, which is really cool to see. And I always, what's a good gun for me? I have some ideas on that, and I give those ideas. But this is really great. This is the wellarmedwoman.com. This is the forum where women are going to hopefully help other women choose a good gun for them. Concealed carry is another topic. Holsters for women, that's a big one. This is an interesting one here. Aging and gun ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many stories I find, news stories where 80 and 90-year-old grandmas use guns to defend themselves in their homes.
Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
good stuff there.
And that's the thing. We're open to all women, age 21 and up, who can legally own a firearm. So we
Right.
have some ladies, 22 years old, and then we have some upwards, 60. We haven't quite hit 70 in our chapter. I do know that there are chapters that do have some older women, and they shoot. And whether it's limitations through arthritis or whatever, we work with everyone to make sure that they're the most effective shooter possible. So.
Absolutely. Very good.
That's been that's excellent. That's good stuff. And like I say, that's why we need to keep promoting this show, because you're getting just invaluable information here. And like I said, I know my wife is listening to it. She's kind of changed. I mean, my neighbors are kind of changing their stance on things because, they all look at the news and none of it's good. And not everybody who owns a gun is going out and committing these atrocities.
Correct.
There's bad people everywhere. They talk about the police, this, that, and the other, and Black Lives Matter. My thought is all lives matter. It doesn't matter black, white, yellow, green, red, blue, whatever.
Absolutely.
It all matters. And there's not good cops. There are good cops or great cops, but there are bad cops too. And it seems like that's all you hear about.
Yep.
And it's hard to. I always say it's tough to play another man's ship because I'm not in that position. And number one, you're scared to death. You have no idea what these people are doing, coming up in their car and whatnot. And you go to the National Carry Conceal website, and they show where an officer went up and stopped the gentleman and knew he was armed. He had looks like some type of automatic gun sitting on his front seat, and told him if he kept bothering him, he's going to shoot him. And the officer just stopped, froze, then just shot him once, and then kind of like backed off. And the guy got out of the car, shot and killed him,
Yeah.
and then ran around. Not only ran around the car, but ran in the woods, and they couldn't find the guy for another 2 days. So just because you think you shoot somebody one time with a gun will deter the threat. And a lot of times it takes more than one time to deter the threat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So in other words, the officer made a mistake. He should have just shot and killed. If he got to that point, okay, it's my life or his, he had to win. And shooting a guy one time, he ended up losing. It's a flawed mistake.
Exactly.
That's reality for you.
Yeah.
We all hope we never are in that situation, but our goal is to make sure that if we are ever faced with that situation, that we can defend ourselves. So.
Right. So is there any kind of closing statements?
Oh, I want to hear from Christine
Okay.
more than anything.
Well, I want to reach out to all the ladies out there. Just know that we are here and we're available for you. Go to our website, thewellarmedwoman.com. You can locate the chapter, find a chapter tab, and you are going to be able to locate a chapter by state and by your area. You're welcome to attend your first class free just to see if it's something that you're going to be interested in. If you like it, sign up, join us. You're going to get lots of great benefits, absolutely wonderful training, and it's just a lot of fun with a great, great group of ladies. So.
All righty. Well, Christine, it was great having you in once again. And give the phone number so they can get a hold of you.
You can reach me at 303-358-3815. You can also reach me by email at twaw.littleton2@gmail.com. And as I said, that is specifically to our Littleton chapter, which does service the greater Denver metro area. If we are not close enough for you, you can go onto the website, The Well-Armed Woman, and they will direct you to a chapter that will be in your area.
Well, Riley, once again, this brings to a close another edition of the Shootist, and I want to thank you for being here and becoming involved. We're going to change the website around and go out and tell your friends, because like I said, you're getting a lot of valuable information, and there's two sides to every story. So I'm promoting the Second Amendment. We all are.
Absolutely.
Side of the story.
Yep.
So we all get a fair break. So we will see you next Friday on the Shootist, and remember, train hard, stay safe, and your responsibility is never, never, ever ends to be prepared to win the fight. We'll see you.
Originating in Denver, Colorado, in the USA.